Ever wish you could just like see right through people, like know what they're really thinking, even if they're not saying it?
Mind reading.
Well, kinda. It's
Yeah.
not magic though, it's body language. And
Uh,
this book we're diving into, How to Analyze People, breaks down how to use it to really get someone's true intentions.
it's fascinating stuff.
It is. Some of it is really wild.
Yeah, it's not just about catching someone in a lie, though.
Right.
It really digs into like the psychology behind it.
Okay.
Why do our bodies actually betray us? What's going on in our brains that makes us give off these signals?
So it's not just like super basic stuff like, okay, someone's crossing their arms, that means they're tensed off.
Exactly.
No.
It goes so much deeper than that. It connects our modern behavior to how our brains have actually evolved.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So let's take like open palms, for example.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people think open palms just mean honesty,
Right.
but it's actually way more primal than that.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. Like, how so?
Think about a dog showing its belly. It's a sign of vulnerability, right? Trust. Open palms can convey that same message to another human.
So you're saying, like, if you're in a tense negotiation with somebody
Right.
and their palms are open, it could be that they're actually more receptive than their words are letting on.
Exactly. They might be like playing hardball verbally, but their body is kind of saying, hey, I'm open to hearing what you have to say.
That's a great point. Yeah.
It's those subtle inconsistencies that can really give you insight into what's really going on.
So it's not just about reading a single gesture. It's about looking for the patterns and the contradictions.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody leaning forward could mean they're attracted to you,
Right.
but it also could mean they just really respect what you're saying.
Okay, that makes sense.
You have to consider the whole picture.
Right, right. Because if they're leaning in with a skeptical frown and crossed arms, that's totally different from someone leaning in eyes wide
Right.
and, a more relaxed posture.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, one thing that really surprised me about this book was how much it emphasized the torso.
The torso.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We always think about facial expressions, but the book is saying our shoulders, our hips, even our legs are like constantly giving off information.
Yeah, we don't think about it as much, do we?
No, we don't. So like what kind of things should we be looking for? My hips have a language. This is getting good.
Well, think about hunched shoulders.
Okay.
Everyone knows that means stress, right?
Right.
But if you deliberately push your shoulders back, that power pose,
Yes.
it conveys confidence and it can actually make you feel more powerful.
So you're saying just by changing my posture, I can actually change how I feel. I've heard of that, but I always thought it was kind of like woo-woo.
No, there's real science behind it. Our physical state and our mental state are completely interconnected.
That's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
So like if I'm nervous before I have to give a big presentation, doing a power pose could actually help.
It's worth a try.
Okay, I like it. What about hips? You said hips.
The hips. Subtle movements of the hips can indicate interest.
Really?
Yeah. So imagine you're at a party and you're chatting with someone,
Okay.
and their hips are kind of facing you, even though their head might be turned towards someone else.
Okay.
That could be a subconscious sign that they're more drawn to you than the person they're actually looking at.
Wow. That's a subtle one. But I can see how that would be a really valuable thing to know, especially if you're trying to figure out if someone's flirting with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
What about, okay, so we did shoulders, hips. What about legs? Legs are part of this too.
Oh, yeah, legs are in on it, too. I mean, think about it. If someone's feet are pointed towards you, that means engagement.
Okay.
But if their feet are kind of swiveling towards the door, they're already subconsciously planning their escape.
Oh, that's good to know. So if you're on a date and their feet are pointed towards the exit, you might want to wrap things up.
Or at least order dessert quickly.
Right, exactly.
But really, we overlook the lower body so much, and it can tell us so much.
Yeah, it makes sense though, right?
Yeah.
Because it's less subject to our conscious control.
Exactly.
It's like a more honest read on how someone's really feeling.
It really is.
This is so fascinating. Okay, so I have to ask you about the section in this book on analyzing relationships.
Ooh, relationships.
Because it's saying we can tell how healthy a couple is just by watching their body language.
Yeah, we can definitely pick up on clues.
Wow. Okay, so before we go full on like relationship detective, I know we have to remember context. We're not judging strangers at a restaurant or anything.
Right, exactly.
But still, these observations can give us some really valuable insights for maybe even reflecting on our own relationships.
Absolutely.
So how do we know if a couple genuinely trusts each other? Is it all about eye contact and holding hands, or is there more to it than that?
It goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
Like, do they mirror each other's movements?
Mirroring.
Not in a creepy way,
Right.
but subtly and naturally.
Oh, okay.
Because mirroring is a sign of deep rapport.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, when you're truly in sync with someone, you unconsciously start to do that.
Yeah, I've noticed that if you're really comfortable with someone, you start to like pick up their little habits and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. So is there tension? Is there criticism? Are there like little subtle eye rolls?
It's about looking for those signs of genuine affection and connection,
Exactly.
or the lack thereof. Okay, let's move on to the juicy stuff, the part I know everyone wants to hear about. Lie detection.
Ooh, lie detection.
Yes, what are some signs that maybe someone's not being totally truthful with us?
Well, before we get into that, I do have to offer a word of caution because context matters so much.
Of course, of course.
You know, some people are naturally fidgety, some people avoid eye contact. It's about noticing deviations from their norm.
You need that baseline to compare against,
Mhm.
right? It's like figuring out someone's tell in poker.
Exactly.
So what are some of the tells that might tip us off that someone isn't being 100% honest?
Well, one that surprised me was the itchy nose.
The itchy nose.
Yeah. It's not just nervousness, it's an actual physiological response.
Oh, interesting.
When we lie, there's often this surge of adrenaline which can cause blood vessels to dilate, including the ones in our nose.
So that sudden nose scratch after a tough question might be more than just an itch.
It could be. It could be. Another one is overuse of phrases like honestly or to tell you the truth.
Oh, like they're overcompensating.
Exactly. They're trying to convince you and maybe even themselves that they're being truthful.
Yeah, yeah. What about changes in their speech patterns? Can that be a giveaway too?
Definitely that adrenaline surge can affect our vocal cords.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, our voice might crack or speed up or even go higher pitched. Or sometimes liars will pause a lot
To buy themselves time.
to buy themselves time, yeah, to think up their story.
So if someone who's usually a smooth talker is suddenly stammering and hesitant, that's a red flag.
It could be, but again, context is key. We're not talking about turning into a human lie detector or anything,
Right.
but just being more aware of these subtle cues that might signal deception.
And it's important to remember the ethics of all this. It's not about catching people out just for the sake of it.
Right.
It's about protecting yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, if you sense dishonesty, you can choose to disengage or ask more questions or just proceed with caution.
Exactly. Yeah.
Knowledge is power, but it comes with responsibility.
I like that. Knowledge is power, but it comes with responsibility.
Okay, now this next part really caught my eye. Faking it till you make it.
Faking it until you make
Can you actually fake confidence and other emotions just through body language? Isn't that kind of manipulative?
Well, there's a fine line between manipulation and what I would call like strategic self-presentation.
Okay, I like that.
And the book's argument is that consciously using body language techniques like, you know, controlled breathing,
Okay.
minimizing fidgeting, things like that,
Yeah.
can be incredibly useful for boosting confidence, especially in high-pressure situations.
So if I'm terrified before I have to give a big presentation, like faking a power pose could actually help me feel more confident.
It's not just faking it. It's about leveraging that mind-body connection.
Okay.
Your posture can actually influence your brain chemistry and vice versa.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
It really is.
But I guess authenticity still matters in the long run,
Right.
You can't just fake it forever.
Absolutely. Body language is about so much more than just manipulating other people.
Right.
It's about understanding and expressing your authentic self. And as you become more aware of your own nonverbal cues, you can use them to communicate more effectively and build stronger relationships.
So it's like a skill to be developed, not just like a set of tricks to use on people.
Exactly. It's about self-awareness and awareness of others, understanding this like silent language that we all speak.
I'm feeling so much more aware of my own body language just from talking about this. I'm sitting up straighter, making more eye contact.
Look at you. The awareness is already kicking in.
I know, right? Okay, so let's get into some specific strategies for decoding those nonverbal cues and using them to our advantage.
Let's do it.
Okay, bring on the secrets.
Okay, so, you know, first things first, remember those torso cues. Those are like a gold mine of information.
Okay, so like shoulders, hips, legs, all that good stuff.
Exactly, but don't jump to conclusions based on just one gesture.
Right.
You got to look for patterns, consistency,
Yeah.
and remember, context is everything.
Right, of course.
Crossed arms in a freezing room doesn't mean the same thing as crossed arms during an argument.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to oversimplify things when you're just starting to learn about body language.
It is. It is. That's why it's so important to practice observation.
Go.
The more you pay attention, the better you get at really reading those subtle cues.
Okay, so observation is key. Got it.
Hmm?
What else should we be focusing on?
Well, one thing that this book gets into that I thought was fascinating was micro expressions.
Micro expressions. Oh, I've heard of those, yeah.
Yeah, have you ever noticed those?
I feel like they're those like super quick flashes of emotion that we might not even be aware of ourselves.
Exactly. They happen in a fraction of a second
Wow.
and often involuntarily. Yeah.
So they can reveal emotions that we might be trying to suppress consciously.
So it's like our true feelings are trying to like break through, even if it's just for a split second.
Exactly. And this book highlights how to actually spot those micro expressions.
Okay.
So for example, a genuine smile
Mm-hmm.
involves the muscles around the eyes crinkling,
Okay.
but a fake smile is all in the mouth.
Oh, the classic smize versus say cheese smile. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can see how paying attention to those micro expressions would be so useful, especially if you think someone's not being totally upfront with you.
It can be, but, interpreting microexpressions accurately takes a lot of practice,
Yeah.
and you don't want to jump to conclusions based on just one fleeting expression.
Right, right. It's all about looking for clusters of cues and again, taking that context into account.
Exactly.
Is their body language matching up with their words? Are they acting differently than they normally do?
It really is like solving a puzzle. You
Yeah.
need all the pieces to fit together to see the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something a little more controversial. Power dynamics.
Ooh, power dynamics.
I'm sensing this is going to be a good one.
It's a good one. The book really dives into how body language plays this huge role in establishing dominance or submission in social interactions.
Interesting.
And it's fascinating. Think about like those classic alpha postures, taking up space, chest puffed out, chin slightly raised.
Oh, yeah.
It's a way of asserting dominance.
Right.
Almost like claiming territory, whether consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah, you see politicians and CEOs doing that kind of thing all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to project that aura of power and authority.
Exactly. And it's not just men either.
Right.
The book talks about how women can use body language to project power too. So imagine a woman who stands tall, makes direct eye contact, and uses gestures that are open and expansive, not closed off.
That's a great point. It's not about being like aggressive or domineering.
Right.
It's about owning your space and projecting confidence. I bet that can make a huge difference, especially in like a male-dominated field.
Oh, absolutely. It's fascinating how these nonverbal cues can influence our perceptions of someone's authority, their credibility, even their likability. And we're not always aware of it.
Yeah. You always hear that advice like, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. But it's more than just clothes, right?
Right.
It's how you carry yourself, how you use your body language.
Exactly.
Project that image that you want people to see.
Exactly. And this is where the concept of mirroring comes in.
Mirroring. Oh, yeah.
The book suggests that subtly mirroring someone's body language can be a powerful way to build rapport and trust.
Okay, so if they lean forward, I lean forward. If they cross their legs, I cross mine. Isn't that a little, I don't know, contrived?
It can be if it's not done authentically.
Right.
It has to be subtle, almost unconscious. The key is to match their energy and intention without being a copycat.
So it's not about mimicking their every move. It's more about finding that subtle synchronicity.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Think of it like dancing. Okay.
You don't want to step on their toes, but you want to move together in a way that feels harmonious.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we find that sweet spot between, mirroring and still being authentic?
It takes practice and observation. Pay attention to how the other person is holding themselves, the pace of their movements, the tone of their voice. Try to subtly match those cues without being obvious about it.
Okay, so it's about being aware of those nuances and responding in a way that feels natural and genuine.
Precisely. And the book gives some great examples of how to do this effectively. So, for instance, if someone leans forward when they're talking, you might subtly lean into to signal that you're engaged and interested.
Or if they use a particular hand gesture, you could maybe incorporate a similar gesture into your own communication.
Exactly.
It's about finding that connection without being a mirror image. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
This is fascinating. I can see how mastering these techniques could be really helpful, especially in professional settings, like job interviews or presentations.
No, absolutely. Speaking of presentations, didn't the book talk about power posing to boost confidence and project authority?
It did.
Like the Superman pose we talked about.
That's the one. Research has shown that holding these poses, even just for a few minutes, can actually increase our testosterone levels and decrease our cortisol levels, the stress hormone.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about looking confident. It's about actually changing our body chemistry to help us feel more confident.
Exactly. It's that mind-body connection again. So if you're feeling nervous before a big presentation, take a few minutes, stand tall, shoulders back, chin slightly raised. You might be surprised at the difference it makes.
I'm definitely trying that before my next presentation. Okay. What about during the presentation itself? Any tips on using body language to really captivate the audience?
Absolutely. First and foremost, make eye contact.
Yeah.
Not in a creepy, staring way,
Right, right.
but in a way that connects with individuals in the audience. So it
Yeah.
shows that you're confident, you're engaged, and that you care about their attention.
It's like you're speaking directly to each person, even if you're talking to a big group, right?
Exactly. Now, in terms of gestures,
Yeah, what about gestures? Should they be like big sweeping movements or more contained?
it depends on the context, the size of the audience, and the message that you're trying to convey.
Right.
But generally, using gestures that are open and expansive can help to project confidence and energy.
Okay, so no hiding behind the podium with our arms crossed.
Exactly.
What about facial expressions? Should we be smiling the whole time, or is it okay to be more serious?
Authenticity is key.
Okay.
If you're genuinely passionate about your topic, let that show on your face. Don't be afraid to show a range of emotions, from excitement to seriousness, as long as it's congruent with your message.
Right. It's all about being genuine and letting your passion shine through.
Exactly.
This is making me realize how much we communicate without even saying a word.
Isn't it fascinating?
It's like we're constantly sending out these signals whether we realize it or not.
We are, and it's a two-way street. We're not just projecting our own body language, we're also picking up on the cues from those around us.
So it's not just about mastering our own nonverbal communication. It's about becoming more attuned to the signals that other people are sending us as well.
Absolutely.
It's like learning a whole new language.
It really is, and like any language, it takes practice. The more we pay attention, the more fluent we become.
And who knows, we might even discover things about ourselves and others that we never realized before.
Absolutely.
I love that. Learning to decode body language is like unlocking this secret code to human behavior.
It is.
It's daunting, but it's also really exciting.
It is, it is.
Even small improvements in our ability to read and use body language can have this big impact on our interactions and relationships.
It really can, it really can.
This has been so great. I feel like my eyes have been opened to this whole new world.
Me too.
I'm already feeling more confident and aware of my own body language
Yeah.
just from talking about it.
It's amazing.
Okay, so I'm curious, how does all of this apply to romantic relationships?
Ooh, romantic relationship.
Because the book talks about, the body language of attraction.
It does, it does.
So tell me, what are some of those, telltale signs of attraction?
Well, it's funny how much of it comes back to those primal instincts we were talking about before.
Okay.
I mean, even in like our super modern world, our bodies still react in those fundamental ways when we're attracted to someone.
So we're talking like dilated pupils, leaning in, like playing with their hair, all that good stuff.
Exactly. Dilated pupils, classic sign of interest, maybe even arousal.
Right.
Leaning in shows engagement, a desire for closeness. And things like twirling their hair, playing with jewelry, those can be subconscious ways of drawing attention to, certain areas.
It's amazing how subtle it can be, but I guess it also kind of makes you realize how much we're broadcasting our feelings even when we don't realize it.
Totally, yeah.
What about guys, though? What kind of body language do men tend to use when they're into someone?
Yeah, men tend to be a little less subtle, physically at least.
Okay.
Think about those classic dominance displays, spreading their legs, taking up space.
Oh, yeah.
It's partly about, showing off, saying, hey, look at me, I'm strong, I'm capable.
Like a peacock flashing its feathers.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's all about attracting attention, but in a more, primal way.
Okay, interesting. What about eye contact?
Mm.
Because you always hear about that like smoldering gaze across a crowded room. Is that a real thing?
It can be. It definitely can be. Prolonged eye contact is often, cited as a sign of attraction, but again, context is key.
Right, right.
If it's combined with like a genuine smile, a
Yeah.
relaxed posture,
Yeah.
that's a good sign. But if it feels intense,
Okay,
staring almost predatory,
right.
that's a whole different story.
Yeah, it's like the difference between being intrigued and creeped out.
Exactly.
And it's not just about one signal, it's the whole picture.
The whole picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And trust your gut feeling.
Oh,
If someone's body language is making you uncomfortable,
right.
that's a signal in itself.
Good advice. Okay.
Mm.
So, big question. Can we actually change our body language to become more confident, more attractive, whatever we want to be? Is that possible?
That is the million-dollar question. And this is where the book's advice on faking it till you make it comes back in.
Okay.
And actually, there's a lot of research to support this idea.
Really?
Remember those power poses we talked about?
Like the Superman pose.
The Superman pose.
Yeah.
Studies show that even just consciously adopting a more confident body language can have a positive impact on our mood, our self-esteem,
Wow.
even our performance.
So it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy thing. You act confident and you actually start to feel more confident.
Exactly. And it can be such a powerful tool for personal growth.
Yeah.
So if you're shy or insecure, consciously working on your body language can help you to project that more confident image, which can lead to more positive interactions.
So we're not stuck with whatever body language we have.
Right.
We can actually train ourselves to use it more effectively to achieve our goals.
Exactly. It's like any skill.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the better you get.
This has been incredible. I feel like this deep dive has really opened my eyes to this whole new world of communication.
Me too.
It's like body language is this secret code we've all been using,
Right.
whether we realized it or not.
You all do it.
And the more we understand it, the better we can communicate, connect with people,
Absolutely.
even influence them.
Totally.
It's powerful stuff. Well, I think it's safe to say that this deep dive has been a huge success. We uncovered so many fascinating insights about how our bodies betray our inner thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
how we can use that knowledge to our advantage, and even how we can become more confident, more persuasive just by, tweaking our posture or gestures.
It's amazing what a difference it can make.
It really is. So everyone listening out there, go forth and conquer the world armed with your new body language superpowers.
Go get 'em.
And until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep diving.